The White Sox decisions on Tim Anderson and Josh Harrison were not a surprise, but AJ Pollock's decision definitely caught me off guard. How will the White Sox spend that money? Because the outfield definitely needs to be addressed. MLB Awards season continues as Sox ace Dylan Cease gets some well-deserved attention. How have the White Sox fared throughout history in regards to honors and distinctions?
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong diehard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Really appreciate you letting me steal some of your time to talk off-season White Sox. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Chicago White Sox had a top 10 payroll last season, but is it really all about the money? MLB Awards season has not been kind to the White Sox throughout history. Perhaps the Sox need to do their own celebrating. Also, sometimes situations work themselves out in the most surprising ways. Wow, this was a surprise Tuesday afternoon. Good thing I did a whole episode on AJ Pollock recently and what he could bring to the White Sox in 2023. Buster Olney from ESPN putting it out there. AJ Pollock is declining his $13 million option for the 2023 season with the White Sox. He receives a $5 million buyout instead and now becomes a free agent. Was it so bad on the South side that AJ Pollock just had to get away? Or does he think he can do better on the open market? Maybe a combination of both. But the White Sox now have some money to play with and some outfield issues to address. Hey, it's MLB Awards season. White Sox ace Dylan Cease is a finalist for the Cy Young. Cease, truly one of the few reasons that made this past season enjoyable. He had arguably the best moment of the year with his one hitter, I should say, against the Minnesota Twins. Dylan Cease is up against Justin Verlander, Alek Manoah. This was the blurb from the announcement. 26-year-old Cease built on his breakout 2021 with an even better 2022 for the White Sox, going 14-8 with a 2.20 ERA, second in the second in AL to Justin Verlander in 227 strikeouts, one more than he had last season. Cease's year included a record-setting streak of 14 straight starts, allowing no more than one earned from May 29th to August 11th. I'm thinking this is Justin Verlander's award to lose, but you never know. You never know what can happen. Cease is knocking on the door, that's for sure. Sox pitchers have gotten close in recent history. Lance Lynn in 2021, he was up there in the top three. Dallas Keuchel in 2020 had votes coming in the top five. Giolito had that great 2019 that we hope he can replicate at some point. He was in sixth place in the Cy Young voting. Chris Sale, way back, he had a lot of opportunities in I would say 2014. He was up there third place. Mark Burley and John Garland back in 2005. They were up there in voting in the top six. Sox have not had a lot of Cy Young Award winners, just 3 in all of history. Again, the White Sox been around for over 120 years. You got to go back to 1993, Blackjack McDowell, the last White Sox pitcher to win the Cy Young Award. Before that, it was Lamar Hoyt in 1983, and then Early Wynn 1959. All very successful seasons for the White Sox. So does getting to the postseason matter? It sure feels like it. Another reason why I don't think this is the year for Dylan Cease. Let's talk about some other recent White Sox award winners during this MLB Awards season. Again, the White Sox have been around for a long time, but aside from Gold Glove and Silver Sluggers, the Sox do not have a rich history of award winners. MVP, only 4 players in Sox history. Most recent, of course, Jose Abreu, 2020. Rookie of the Year, there have been 6 players throughout history. Most recent, Jose Abreu, 2014. And then Silver Slugger, there's been multiple. Most recent, had a good year in 2020. Tim Anderson, Eloy Jimenez, and Jose Abreu. This Abreu guy keeps getting mentioned. I wonder if the Sox should bring him back. Gold Glove, there have been several winners. Most recent, Luis Robert from that 2020 season. That was a fun year, wasn't it? A lot of awards from that year. And Manager of the Year, 5 recipients. Most recent, Ozzie Guillen in 2005. So I started thinking about future award winners. We got some guys on this team, that could be in this award season conversation soon. For MVP, I really think Luis Robert has the skills, has the ability, has the danger. Offensively, defensively, he's won a Gold Glove already, of course, as I just mentioned. Can he stay healthy? He has the tools, right? Gold Glove, I know there's going to be folks that are going to be so mad that I'm going to say this. I think Yoan Moncada could win a Gold Glove. I really do at third base. I know it seems like he falls asleep sometimes over there, but boy, I think he can do it. I really do. Silver Slugger, Andrew Vaughn. We'll see what happens with him. Is he going to be your full-time first baseman moving forward? And Cy Young, I don't think it's going to be this year, but I think Dylan Cease is just destined to win a Cy Young. So then I started thinking more about, the Sox haven't got the love from Major League Baseball with their awards, and maybe the Sox need to do their own celebrating, more of that. White Sox have 11 numbers retired, and I really do believe there should be a number 12, and it should be number 13, Ozzie Guillen. I know a lot of folks don't really care too much about retired numbers. They can go either way. I think it's a wonderful way to celebrate your team's history, and the White Sox have a ton of it. When Guillen left after the 1997 season, the White Sox did not give that number out again until 2001 when Antonio Osuna wore it for 2 seasons. Then Willie Harris award in 2003. Ozzie Guillen, of course, came back to manage in 2004. He got his number 13 back. Since he left after the 2011 season, nobody has worn number 13 since. I really hope they figure that out. I believe Ozzie Guillen should have that number retired for everything he has done for this franchise as a player and, of course, as a manager. Perhaps the White Sox could also think about maybe a team Hall of Fame, something like what the Royals have done. I believe even the Cincinnati Reds have their own team Hall of Fame. Sox used to have a little Hall of Fame back behind home plate in the concourse. That has been removed. It's been put in the area where scout seats folks can, during their dining experience, they can look at some of the memorabilia. I really think they need to make that public, have a team Hall of Fame, so much rich history. It'd be a way to honor and celebrate the White Sox, since MLB does not seem to recognize us as frequently. Put the 11 retired numbers in, and then other players that have made an impact while in a White Sox uniform, something like Dick Allen or Jack McDowell, and then add folks like Bill Veeck, Nancy Faust, Roland Heeman, Roger Bossard, Hawk, Gene Honda, and so forth. Just a thought, just an idea. It's really cool what the Royals and the Reds have done. Money will be a topic of conversation this offseason, as it always is with Jerry and the White Sox. I'm going to tell you why money might not have been the issue last year. More on that in a moment. If you've thought about securing your home with home security but have been putting it off, you'll want to listen up. Right now, Locked On White Sox listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you won't want to miss it. Did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spiked nationally? That's why our friends at SimpliSafe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your SimpliSafe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real, so you can get priority police response. SimpliSafe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and out, smarter ways to detect motion that alert you only when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. 24/7 professional monitoring service costs less than $1 a day, less than half the price of ADT's traditional professionally installed system. With the top-rated SimpliSafe app, stay in complete control of your system anytime, anywhere. Arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your cameras, or adjust system settings. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb. This is their biggest discount of the year. So don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Money, money, money. It will always be about money. Specifically, players this offseason. How big of a contract will they get? Aaron Judge, he might command the most this offseason. And I know there's a lot of Sox fans. Hey, if we're living in the season of hope and delusion, why not dream about Aaron Judge out there in right field? Makes so much sense. But when you see what the over-under on how much he might get, you're obviously going to say that that's, of course, not in the White Sox future. So BetOnline has the odds of where Aaron Judge will land if he does not resign with the Yankees. Giants at the top of the list, the San Francisco Giants, 2-1 odds, Dodgers 3-1, Mets 8-1, Braves, Rangers, Red Sox 12-1, Angels, Blue Jays 16-1. White Sox are nowhere to be found because the over-under for Aaron Judge's next contract has been set at $375 million. Another guy that he's getting some buzz among Sox fans. Why not? Trey Turner, boy, he would be a great fit. Contract prediction for Trey Turner, 9 years, $275 million. I've seen that tossed around. I don't know if you saw his recent endeavor, but Trey Turner, I know lots of Sox fans are dreaming of him, but it's just probably not going to happen. He put together a highlight reel, almost like an actor would, going out on auditions and so forth. He put out a highlight reel that he's going to pitch to other teams, and he got John Hamm to narrate it. If you haven't found that, go check it out. Pretty interesting. We'll see what that does for his interest. This was updated after the trade deadline this past year. The White Sox had the 7th highest payroll in all of baseball this past season. 7th highest. Dodgers were at 265 and change. Mets 261. Yankees 251. Fourth were the Phillies 242. Padres 220. Red Sox in 6th place 207. And then the White Sox in 7th, 196 million. Astros in 8th place, Braves in 9th, and the Angels rounded out the top 10. Of the top 10 payrolls, the Red Sox, White Sox, and Angels were the three teams to fail to make the postseason. So you might be asking yourself, where did the AL Central champs, the Cleveland Guardians, fall on that list? The Cleveland Guardians came in 27th in payroll at $67.8 million. So the White Sox could be playing with a similar payroll in 2023 than what they had in 2022. I'm going to tell you why the roster construction will be so critical this offseason. More on that in a moment. Okay, so now the White Sox had one of the highest payrolls in history this past season. They had a payroll increase of 28% from 2021 to 2022, which was the third best in all of baseball. Just another reason why 2022 was so embarrassing. The White Sox spent money, but it was how they spent their money. Also, those numbers just go to show you why money does not necessarily mask all the other problems going on with an organization or how a team is managed, coached, or constructed. But I do think the lack of an impact player, a complete difference maker, someone that could completely change the organizational direction is what the White Sox have lacked. And that will most likely continue under Reinsdorf. I don't see Jerry willing or interested in paying a luxury tax. After the White Sox struck out on Machado and Harper, Hahn famously talked about how money will be spent. He said, quote, "The money will be spent. It might not be spent this offseason, but it will be spent at some point. This isn't money sitting around waiting to just accumulate interest. It's money trying to be deployed to put us in best position to win some championships," end quote. The Sox have spent money. They've spent the money, just not in the way a lot of fans wanted. The Sox didn't make a big splash. They spent it on Yasmani Grandal, Dallas Keuchel. Look at what the White Sox have spent on their bullpen. Hendricks is going to make $14 million in 2023. Joe Kelly, $9 million. Graveman, $8 million. Diekman, $3.5. Bummer, $3.75. So projected 2023 payroll, all bells and whistles, that sits maybe somewhere around $180 million. Maybe it will be similar to 2022. The projected 2023 luxury tax threshold could be around $230 million. So with AJ Pollock declining his option and taking the $5 million buyout, he is gambling that he can make up that $8 million somewhere else, and he might get that. So the Sox have an extra $8 million to play around with, but it's not necessarily the amount. It's how will the Sox use it. Folks, thank you so much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. We are on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up on the next episode, I'll continue to examine off-season White Sox scenarios as the Sox go full steam ahead with the Pedro Grifol era. Really appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Morawski. Until next time, go Sox.